So, Brian, what is Java?
All right, so it's a multi-platform, pure object-oriented programming language and an application runtime environment, and you have to have that application runtime environment.
Absolutely.
We'll get into that a little later.
It was released in 1995. So when I think back, wow, what was I doing in 1995?
Listening to Nirvana, maybe?
Yeah, well, Kurt died in 94, so I was still mourning his death in 1995. I was
sad.
I was moving on, Brian. I was moving on. And in 1995, Java actually made the list of Time Magazine's best products of the year.
Ooh.
And Java was the only technology or computing product that made the list. And if you want proof, there's the link right there
Nice,
to that
cool.
article in the Time archives.
It was originally developed by Sun Microsystems, which has now since been bought out by Oracle.
Yeah.
And the language syntax is based on C and C++, and one of the things that they wanted to keep in mind is keep it as simple to C++ as possible.
Yep.
As similar to C++ as possible so
Right.
that it's not like a completely alien and foreign
Right.
weird language.
We didn't have to train people too much.
Right.
Yeah, that was one of the big philosophies. So the code, as Brian was mentioning, the code does not compile directly to machine code like we're used to in C, C++, and Objective-C, but rather a specific type of bytecode. So the design is intended to allow all the bytecode that you can possibly produce to execute on any architecture, and the differences between the different systems is the actual runtime environment, not the program. And this is the WORA principle that was the foundation of what Java was built on, and that's write once, run anywhere. And we'll talk in a little bit.
More or less.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that, but that's the Java philosophy.
So to be able to pull this off, the bytecode runs through a virtual machine, and that virtual machine has it installed on a different platform. So when you go to, let's say you're in Linux, you download the Linux distribution of the Java virtual machine. If you're on a Mac or you're on Windows, you download the Windows distribution of the Java virtual machine.
Right.
And specifically like the Windows 7 or the Windows Vista distribution.
Yeah,
of the Java virtual
x64, x86,
Exactly,
whatever.
right.
Yeah. Java is also known in some circles as a de facto standard language. And the reason why is because even though Java is accepted pretty much industry-wide, it's, at least to my knowledge, and I couldn't really find anything that's specified otherwise, it has no standard recognition. Unlike the other languages that we've talked, like C, ISO C++ standards, and Java doesn't have that. But it's still generally accepted.
Right. So originally they were going to call it Oak.
What a stupid, horrible name that was. Although Java's not the greatest name, but Oak?
Yeah.
Hey, dude, you program in Oak? What?
Oh,
Get out of here.
supposedly there's a large oak tree outside of one of the developer's office windows, and he's like, let's call it like Oak. The developers were informed by the lawyers that Oak was trademarked by Oak Technologies and that they would all owe $5 billion tomorrow when they are fired. So once the new development team came in, after the other guys were fired and cleared out their desks, the legend then had it that the creators of the language had an intense brainstorming session.
Yep.
And they just kind of kicked around some names and couldn't really pin anything down.
And apparently they drank a lot of coffee during these meetings.
So they thought that they were releasing a cutting edge technology. They wanted to market it in a way that didn't sound like too nerdy or too overly technical. So Sun's marketing department was putting pressure on the team because obviously, like most departments and companies, they didn't really want to do the work themselves. They just diluted the pressure onto another team. Having the developers come up with a name, what kind of marketing department is that, assholes? Like, what the So anyway, they finally figured out Java, and it was selected, trademarked, stamped, sealed, and delivered.
Yep, all done.